Welcome back to the Ryan Dunstan podcast, Words from a Humble King. You know, today should be a fun episode, man. I enjoy making this one. You know, I've been noticing the comedians talk about sensitivity of today's culture. And, comics like Dave Chappelle and Mike Epps and so on and so forth. You know, they complain about about the fact that they can no longer make light of certain situations or bring up certain topics. And I see what they're saying a little bit there, but this kind of sparked an idea in me to kind of explore the matter a little bit more. You know how I think. I like to get deep into stuff. And, I developed today's topic, which is today's culture hypersensitive? And I'm just going to go ahead and dive right in and say, yes, yes, today's culture is hypersensitive. And I think it is way more sensitive than previous cultures and previous generations. But I also believe that there's context there too. So, you know me, let's go ahead and dive in. You know, I remember watching Def Comedy Jam on HBO and watching Comic View on BET. Y'all remember that, right? And I remember laughing at those jokes, thinking to myself, or whether I was watching it with family, friends, whatever the case may be, but there were a couple of phrases that just kept coming up, like they ain't lying, whoever the joke teller was, or I can't believe they just said that. You know what I'm saying? Those are the kinds of jokes that were being told. Now, of course, they had punchlines, and it was an originality with them that fit their personality, whoever the joke teller was, but it was the truth of the joke that really punched you in the gut. You know what I mean? But it was also a raunchy truth, right? Normally a traumatic truth. You know what I mean? And everyone couldn't necessarily talk about these things in a normal setting. These things were societal taboos. So you didn't just bring them up to anyone. And in some cases, you never brought them up, right? But the shock of whatever that truth was hitting you in your ears unexpectedly with the originality and the personality of the joke teller, that was an art when you really think about it. You know, you remember Martin Lawrence and the crazy and deranged joke, right? Crazy and deranged. You remember that.
You ain't thinking you hung up on a crazy, deranged motherfucker.
Right? Or Bernie Mac on Kings of Comedy when he talked about his gay nephew and his two nieces. And then what about Cedric the Entertainer when he talked about how, quote unquote, black people, we don't hope, we wish. Meaning, we don't hope that someone is not in our seat at a particular venue or at a particular show. We wish that someone was in some seats that we purchased so we could cause an uproar, fuss and fight and all kinds of mayhem. Right?
They know us. They know we'll sit in their damn seats. That's why they came. White people get the usher though. They'll tell when somebody in their damn seats. That's because they live by a different creed than we do in life. White people hope things don't go wrong. They will get the usher because they hope things don't happen. They have high hopes. And if they were running a little late tonight, they probably were thinking, oh my God, we're running a little late. Oh my goodness, I hope no one's in our chairs. Man, I hope no one's in our seats. I don't want any problems. Bruh, we don't never get the usher. We don't need the usher. Because we don't live by the hope creed. Black people got a totally different creed we live by. It's more confrontational. It's the wish factor. Black people don't hope, we wish. We wish a motherfucker would be in our shit.
Right, those sorts of things really rung true, but we didn't necessarily walk around talking about them and glorifying them, even though they were truth, right? But their willingness to talk about what wasn't being talked about is what truly made it funny. But if we're going to keep it a stack here, we gotta admit that these truths, they were off of some truly traumatic pasts of people. Right? And there's a reason why that saying, laugh to keep from crying, well, it's a reason why that was even developed. Man, these truths, they were normally personal truths, deep family rooted issues, right? And the pain of childhood traumas, etc. But they weren't normalized. They were considered, like I said, societal taboos, so you didn't talk about them. And at one point, I even think that therapy was considered a taboo, to be honest with you. I know it was like that in my family. And I just think that today's comics, they still cleverly make fun of racism. They have to be sure on how they deliver that punchline. And over time, and with the evolution of technology and the internet, as well as entertainment, folks organically became more aware. Not to mention, with the emboldening of self through social media and the internet allowing you to be virtually placed shoulder to shoulder next to like-minded individuals. Yeah, I think, that, as well as my generation, the millennials, I'm gonna tell you straight up, we got downright sick of our trauma, right? And we really wanted to do something about it. We considered ourselves chain breakers, generational shifters. And social media made it to where news and information spread way more rapidly than it did in the past, allowing for more people to voice their opinions and concerns over a global scale and over a variety of issues, which I believe also heightens sensitivity. And if that's not enough, I think society has become more aware of the importance of inclusivity, diversity, all of this stuff leading to a greater focus on social justice issues such as racism, sexism, LGBTQ plus movements and rights, and all of this increasing the awareness and sensitivity towards the language and the actions and the behaviors, that may be considered discriminatory or offensive. And I also think that people just have a hard time peopling too, because you got some humans that are extra, and then you got some humans that are clueless and just don't give a damn at all. We have a hard time finding a balance because you're gonna have, various groups on opposite ends of the spectrum. But you can just start to see, when you really think about it, how the pot begins to boil over on the sensitivity matter. There's a historical context here too. I mean, I talked about the generation that comes before me and the taboo of going to therapy, but I think many marginalized groups have historically faced discrimination and oppression. I talked about how we're tired of trauma, man. And all of this resulting in a growing recognition of the need to address and rectify past injustices, and leading to a increased sensitivity towards issues that may be perpetuating harm or discrimination. Now you're starting to see, people wipe that smile off their face from the jokes that are being told. The more awareness becomes easily able to access, and all of these things are cooking in this pot together, and you start to see the different generations have different values and beliefs. And the younger generation, how they're more, vocally, they're more vocal and on social issues, and more willing to kind of challenge the status quo a little bit. We call this generational shifts, Let's not act like we don't know what this is. And this is definitely contributing to the perceived increase in today's sensitivity in our culture. And again, yes, honestly speaking, I think it's safe to say that today's culture is way more sensitive than it used to be. But for reasons I truly understand. And, I live by a certain truth. When you understand, you don't say but. And I understand how this pot is boiling over. And I'm not going to say but. I will say people, again, have a hard time finding a balance. So you can just kind of see how things are kind of being tossed around a little bit, how certain things are being overlooked, and then certain other things are being scrutinized and magnified, But this world is changing, man, and I think we all got to keep changing with it. And none of us have ever been here before, and we're all trying to cope with the things that we've been through and that our family has been through. But I hope these comedians can continue to evolve and find a more clever way to deliver their truths within their personality, because I think that there still is an art in comedy. And I think that laughter is still needed. They say that laughter is good for the soul. And I don't think that saying laugh to keep from crying is going to ever go away. But I do believe that we do have to be conscious with how we view this quote unquote sensitive matter, because people are hurting and they're hurting for a reason. But I also believe that you should try and find time to make light of your situation, because you know how a positive mindset is going to get you through any kind of negative moments. So again, there's a balance that needs to be found. I also think that things have their way of working out, and I think that we will find that balance. And over time, I do believe we'll be all right with whatever we come up with. We are a pretty, as a people, man, we've made it through so much. We've made it through so much, and I think that we're really resilient. Even though you see the differences and the clashes, the wars and all of that kind of stuff, I think to the core and to the heart of man, I think there's still a resilience that we can rely on to find some type of middle ground. Eventually. Hopefully. I'll say that. But this was fun. I appreciate y'all kicking it with me. And until next time, peace.